was like a call to a holy experience. And we are the only ones that got that this morning. Thank you, Jeff. Wonderful. I just love coming in here and sitting pre-service. And I think my mic probably needs to be turned up just a little bit. I love coming in here pre-service and just basking in what Jeff gives us. It's such a gift, and I want to thank him for that. How is everyone this? Yes. How is everyone this morning? We can tell by the look of the group this morning that there's a little time change thing going on, and we also have some weather this morning that's particularly inviting for maybe cozying down in the covers a little bit and taking
good
an
for
extra.
ducks.
Yeah. So we're so glad that you're here with us this morning. Thank you for those of you that are joining us via streaming. We have an exciting service ahead. In just a short bit, James and I are going to be presenting a talk on the 1,000 names of God, 1,000 names for God. We have more beautiful music coming from Jeff for our meditation, and we have Melissa with us this morning. So we are just blessed. We look forward to having a good time. Just so you know, it's National Nacho Day. I find that pretty exciting because I am a nacho gal, so I bet at some point today I will be imbibing? I will be eating nachos at some point. I hope you find something good to eat today as well. So a couple of quick things I want to remind you of before we move into our daily word. First of all, Thanksgiving is around the corner, believe it or not. And we are preparing to get people in line in place to bake turkeys for that day. So I'm going to ask that if you intend to join us on Thanksgiving Day, please sign up now so we can start getting an idea of how many to anticipate that day. There's a sign-up sheet on the bulletin board out in the lobby. You can also sign up online if you want to do it that way. Go to the events calendar, just scroll down to Thanksgiving Day, and you'll see the event there, and there's a form that you can fill out and reserve your spot for that. So we can start planning for that.
You know, people tend to bring their favorite foods.
They do.
And it's amazing. I mean, there's so much. I try to eat it all.
I know.
But it doesn't work.
No.
But it's so good.
Be
right?
sure and bring a pair of like gym pants. What are those elastic band
yes.
pants?
Wear
with
your
you
yoga
that day?
pants.
Yeah. Either wear that or throw them in your bag and bring them with you. Also, secondly, Reverend James is going to be doing a 3-week Zoom class just in time for the holidays, because you know y'all are going to be meeting with those difficult people over the holidays. Yes, am I right or am I right? Yeah.
Yes,
so
I will. Oh, no, wait.
So he's doing a class on how you can keep the peace and how you can talk about difficult things when you're with people that view religion, politics, family situations, whatever the case may be, differently than you do. So if that's something that interests you, again, there's a sign-up sheet out in the lobby. You can sign up for it, or you can do it online. But be sure and do that so that we have your email address so that we can send you the Zoom link for that. Then finally, Tuesday is the day that we all do our civic duty and go to the polls and vote. Please remember to do that. It's an important thing to do.
Can I tell them who to vote for?
No, you may not.
No, wait a minute.
No, you may not.
Vote for love.
Oh, okay.
Vote for peace. Vote for the higher good. Vote for God.
Oh, that's a good thought.
Vote for yourself.
Okay.
Right? And you'll do the right thing.
So let's take a breath. And I want to just invite you to bring your awareness and your attention to this present moment. And if you have little pieces and parts of you that are out there doing other things, gather those pieces and parts up and bring them all right here with you so that your attention is really fully here and you're really fully present this morning, so that you can get your spiritual nourishment, so that you can get what you need to move forward into the week that lies ahead of you. So we're going to focus this morning in the daily word on the word balance. And the affirmation that goes with it is, I honor life's shifting rhythms. Say that with me, please. I honor life's shifting rhythms. Now, I know that for some of us, there's a tendency to want to go, I don't like life's shifting rhythms. But it's just something that we have to lean into and learn to appreciate and honor, right? So sometimes trying to balance my schedule, meet my obligations, and even find time for the things that I enjoy can leave me scrambling to figure out how to fit it all in. Today, I take my cue from nature and notice the rhythm of the seasons and the tides, the cycles of growth, and the order that underlies all things. I appreciate how seamlessly the natural world balances itself and restores itself to harmony. This gift of harmony and balance lives in me. I honor myself when I flow with it instead of forcing my own will upon it. I listen to my body's many signals. I rest when I'm tired, eat when I'm hungry, and socialize and seek solitude as I need to. As I care for myself, I find balance. And Ecclesiastes 8:15 says, "For there is nothing better for people under the sun than to eat and drink and enjoy themselves." Yes, I can take a breath of that. How about you? So let's today move into our day eating and drinking and enjoying ourselves. Reverend James.
Yeah, that sounds really good to me. How y'all doing today? You doing all right? It's great to see you. Welcome. Welcome to all the folks that are watching online. We appreciate it. We're going to invite the children to come on up front at this time. And as they come, I want to see if everybody could stand for just a moment and maybe say hello to somebody. Introduce yourself to somebody. Say hi there. Tell them, say, I'm glad you're here. All right, you may be seated. All right, you guys ready to sing this morning? God is, and I am. I create, and I pray, and I act. On the truth that I know. God is, and I am. I create, and I pray, and I act. On the truth that I know. There is only one God. There is only one love. All right, let's give him a hand this morning. Okay, guys, we're going to send you to your classes. Are you ready to go to class? How many? Did you guys enjoy the rain? Did anybody eat any candy over the last couple weeks? You did? Anybody here? Okay. I figured you might for Halloween. Remember Halloween? Yeah. That was okay, wasn't it? Yeah, I'm sure you did. Yeah, he likes Halloween, I think. Yeah. All right, you guys want to stand up? And as you go to your class now, we're going to send you off with a blessing. We love you. We bless you. We behold the Christ in you. We appreciate you. And we bless your teachers too. All right.
Good morning.
Good morning. How are you?
Good.
Are you awake?
I am.
Good. How's the temperature in here for everybody? Cold, perfect, too hot. Okay, all right. Let's see if we can balance you. A little cold, a little hot. 2 thumbs up back. I don't know what to do.
I I tell them to have pity on us who have to be under the hot lights.
Yeah. Well,
So,
let's just keep it above 70 degrees. I think that's probably a good thing. All right. Well, today we're going to talk about 1,000 names for God. We're going to go through each one of them individually and describe every aspect in detail. We're not going to do that.
Did we remember to tell them to bring their lunch?
Yeah, really. But what we're going to do is talk about all the different names. In the Bible, it says that, well, actually, the Bible has over 1,000 names mentioned for God. Isn't that amazing? And of course, you look at all the different religions and all the different names, there are thousands and thousands of names. And so I want to talk about that a little bit, because if we believe that there's really only one, but yet there are many different aspects that these all represent. And so we're going to get into that today. But I want to read a scripture first. It says in Ephesians 4:13, until we all reach unity in the faith and in the knowledge of the Son of God and become mature, attaining to the whole measure of the fullness or the stature of Christ. So right there is your purpose in this life, right here, right now, is to attain the fullness of the measure of your potential, whatever your potential is to reach that potential, to find and discover that potential. And in doing that, you will be able to fulfill whatever your purpose is. So each divine name carries a revelation. Each divine name carries a revelation with it. It carries an experience. Say it with me. God is experiential.
God is experiential.
Okay? That's very important. God is experiential. In the Bible, the different characters would have a different relationship with different natures or aspects of the divine. Make sense? Mm-hmm. Now, Jesus said, in my name, you will do these great works. And so people have always said, okay, well, what does that mean? You know, do you ever wonder where the name Jesus came from? I'm going to tell you. Is it all right? Yeah. How many want to know? How many already know? Okay, very good. So, why do we use the name Jesus? Well, Jesus is a transliterated name of Yeshua ben Yosef, or Joshua ben Joseph, if we're using modern vernacular. So Jesus was really Joshua. And you say, wait a minute, how could that be? Well, because the New Testament was originally translated in Greek. It was not translated from or into Hebrew or Aramaic. It was translated into Greek. And so the Greeks did not use the SH sound. So the authors substituted an S sound. And then to make it a masculine name, they added another S sound at the end. Isn't that interesting? And that's how the name Jesus came to be used in our modern society. So if you go online, how many know that people who are online a lot have different opinions? Have you noticed that? And there are whole groups of people who are mad because we say Jesus instead of Yeshua. And they have, there's all different kinds of but see, if I may be so bold, that is not the point. It's not the name that you use. It's not the name. Because the divinity has no preference. Oh, I think you should call me this or that. Because the divinity is beyond the need for egoic strokes. That's a human thing, right? We like it when people get our name correct. I'm not Jim or Jimmy, I'm James. Well, I like to be called Jimmy sometimes, or Jim. It doesn't matter. You know, just make sure you call me for dinner. Or you say nice things about it. So, the divine doesn't have a preference. You know, years ago I had a lady come to me and she just didn't like to say the word God because she had been raised in a religion that had beat her up, you know, that beat her down. And so when she said the name God, thought of the name God, it just really bothered her. And so I told her, I said, well, it doesn't matter the name. I said, that's not even the point. It's the relationship, right? It's the relationship. And so it is Frank, Henry, whatever. And I was just kidding when I said that. So about a year later, we were standing right back there in the back of the room. And she said, well, I was talking to Frank the other day. And it came back to me what we had talked about. And I said, oh, you're having a good conversation there, huh?
It could also be Loretta or Doris.
Yes. Thank you for balancing that out.
Let's not forget the feminine aspect there.
Absolutely. So, you know, what I want to know, and I'm glad you said that, because I would like to know what your name for God or divinity, one of your favorite name, and we're going to write some of them on the board. So somebody throw one out there.
The divine.
The divine.
Spirit.
Abba, Spirit. Can you write fast?
Mm-hmm.
What else? Elohim.
Who said that?
H-I-M.
H-I-M?
Yeah.
The universe.
The universe. What? What she said.
Infinite intelligence.
Infinite intelligence. Lamb. Oh, L-A-M-B.
The creator.
The creator. What else? What? Howard. Was that Howard that said that? Where is Howard? What else? Oh, the great mystery. I am. What else?
Powers that be.
Powers that be.
Universal energy.
Universal energy. Higher power. Anybody use that one? What else? Oneness. Ooh, yeah. Beginning and end. We're going to talk about that in a minute. So, Guru. All right. Rabbi, master, guru. All that is. That's a good one. Mother. Father. How about brother? Would you say maybe that Jesus and other spiritual teachers are your elder brothers? And sisters? Yes. Yes.
Way shower?
Innermost. Like it. Way shower. I mean, we could go on and on and on. Light, hope, faith. Whatever name that you come up with is right, because really this is the all that is. God, divine intelligence, is everything. Everything. Everything in existence. And so it doesn't matter what name you use. There are no right or wrong names. There maybe are aspects that you haven't experienced yet. Say it with me. Ooh. Right? And that, unfortunately, is what happens with many people, is they only experience maybe, one or two aspects, and they think, oh, well, I've got it now. I've achieved enlightenment.
I have found in my experience that as my relationship with the energy that we know as God changes, my identifiers that I use for the name of God changes.
Yes.
So maybe once upon a time I used God or spirit, and now I find myself in a different relationship and use different words. So our relationship kind of, as it evolves, our words change and evolve too. And we see that happen with people as well. I mean, I know a lot of people that have gone through name changes as they've evolved and
Yes.
changed. So there was a point in your life when you were Jim and Jimmy.
Right. Mm-hmm.
Now you're James. There was a...
I'm actually all of the above.
Yes, you are. Yes, you are. And more.
And more.
So-
Ooh, yes, I like that.
In the Old Testament, there was Abraham and Sarah. And at one point, Sarah actually was Sarai. And she went through a name change when there was a shift in her relationship. And she went from Sarai, which meant bitterness, to Sarah, which meant princess. So we have these shifts in names as we identify with ourselves differently and as we identify with the divine or God or spirit or oneness differently as well.
Absolutely.
Shifts and changes.
Absolutely. And that's how you shift your consciousness, is really what's happening is we are all moving through divinity and all the different aspects, all the different natures, all the different understandings in our life as just a different part of the divine. It's a little clearer picture, a little bigger picture. The more that you experience, say experience with me, experience, then the more you will begin to know and become more intimate with what we call divinity. Does that make sense? So it's more than just what we think it is. Because in our thinking mind is infinite, or I'm sorry, finite. Right? The power we're talking about is infinite. It is beyond the physical. It transcends physical being, transcends the physical world. But in the physical world is where we experience the divine right now. Right? How many are physical? Raise your hand. Okay, good.
Weren't
If you're
enough
not
hands up on
physical,
that
you're not
one.
raising your hand right
Yeah.
now. So,
I am talking about, the different natures of God too. One of the most freeing things for me, the reason I said earlier, Doris or Loretta or whatever, one of the most freeing things for me was when I was able to release myself from seeing God as a male energy. Because I grew up in a fundamentalist church where I was told all my childhood, oh, God is like your earthly father. He's your heavenly father. He's like your earthly father. And I went, well, that doesn't work for me. But I kept hanging on to that. And so when I finally had that understanding, that aha, that, oh, there is no male, female. There is both male, female. It's the whole thing. I can have any relationship. I can form that relationship and have that entity, have that be anything I need it to be. And so having that shift from seeing, God as a male entity into something that worked for me was a hugely freeing thing, and actually was able to take me up that next level of my growth and unfoldment, because my relationship was able to shift.
yes.
There was a healing in that.
It's beautiful, beautiful. Well, we talk about the divine mind a lot, and the divine mind is masculine. Have you ever noticed that we don't talk a lot about the sacred heart, the sacred love? Think about that. Because the heart, because to know God, you have to not only understand intellectually, that's important, because that's how we grasp concepts and ideas, but you have to come into a feeling awareness of it in order for it to be a complete revelation. So a lot of people walking around with a lot of head knowledge, and they're talking out of their heads. They have never really experienced anything that they're talking about. They're just spouting and parroting thoughts and ideas that they've heard that this must be what it is. So you don't want to be like that. You want to be a whole being. You want wholeness. Let's say that together. Wholeness. Wholeness.
Yeah.
Right? Now, I want to share with you that in this physical world, I'm going to talk about 3 names or 3 principles that is important that you and I are familiar with, because we all experience it every day. There are 3. The 3 levels of God, you could say. The 3 levels of divinity. Now, it's interesting that the Hindus, talk about this. And it's talked about in the Bible. And it's talked about in most religions. What I'm getting ready to tell you. So, all right. Number 1 is Brahma, or Elohim, which is the creator. Okay, because this physical world has been what? Created. We are the creation. We are creatures. We are physical beings, aren't we? Now, yes, we are spirit. That's who we truly are. But we're having a physical experience so that the divinity can express in physical form. Are you with me there? That's not too deep, is it? Okay. All right. So the creator, the architect, the point of origin, the beginning, the alpha, the principle. That's what it is. So there's a divine principle in operation. And once you understand what the principle is, it is the principle of what? Creation. Okay? We're in the process of being created. How many understand that we need to get signs and hang around our necks that says, under construction? Right? We're all, but yet on a spiritual level, we're already there. You understand what I'm saying? But on a physical level, we're still evolving. If we didn't need to evolve, we would not be here. Understand? There is this evolution that's taking place. And metaphysically or metaphorically, this is the earth principle. Because we've been born into the earth. When you came out of your mother's womb, hello, here you are. You are now physical. Welcome to planet Earth. Welcome to the seminar of life. It is getting a little cold in here. Is anybody feeling cool? So, anyway. So, that's the first level of understanding, is the creator. It's important to get in touch with that creativity within yourself, right? Because that is because the creator is still creating. The creative power is still within you. It's still evolving. It's still growing. It's still coming into maturity. Okay? So that's the first one. The second one is Vishnu, or Jesus. And it is the preserver, the savior. It's divine order, the organizer. It's karma, action. It's the story. It's the journey, which is, if you look on a tombstone, you have the birth date, you have the dash, and then you have the end date. What I'm talking about right now is the dash. Right? The dash in between. That is the journey. That is the process. That is the evolutionary awareness. And that's where karma comes in, and action. That's the story that we're telling. That is the organizing principle. That's what this is all about, okay? And when it says that Jesus is the Savior, the word Savior in the Greek is soteria. And soteria is a Greek word, and soteria was the goddess of wholeness and wellness and well-being. Isn't that interesting? So I'd like to introduce you to soteria. She's beautiful. She's the healer. She's the one that helps you get through this life. She's the savior. It's a feminine term. Isn't that interesting? You like that?
I do.
Does that work for you?
It does.
Okay, thank you. All right, just checking. So,
And we're still talking about God here,
yes.
just to be clear. Okay.
Yeah, and where did the name God come from? It was invented by people to describe this power, right? So, in this idea of this journey is about the flow. It's about water. Water is an excellent symbol of this particular understanding of God, is water, which is adaptability. Say with me, I'm flexible.
I'm flexible.
Yeah. And the other one is air. Air. There's 4 elements. Do you know what they are? Earth, water, air, and fire. We're going to get to fire in just a minute. You're going to like that one. No, you're not. So, air, in the Bible, there's a lot of mention about air, and it's like, well, it's a metaphor. To be caught up in the air and always be one with God. What does that mean? Well, the air is the spiritual experience. The spiritual experience, as Paul said, I was caught up into the third heaven, or the higher experience. You see what I'm saying? Are you with me? I don't want to get too deep here. But heaven comes from the word to heave upward. Anybody here ever heave? Upward? Oh boy. Here we were so heavenly, now
I was going to say, and again, you were doing so well.
Well, let me say, the next time you hit your finger, say, Yeshua ben Joseph, because then you'd be more correct. I was saving that joke.
So it might be interesting to throw in here in case anybody doesn't know. Do you all understand why churches put spires on the building? Because it was an early attempt to reach heaven. The idea that they were reaching toward something out there, and the higher your spire, the more, I guess, more godly you were. But it was all an attempt to heave upward, to have a physical sign that you were reaching toward and for God.
Absolutely, yeah.
So stick that in your
that's
bag
okay.
of knowledge.
How many understand that we're not putting anything or anybody down this morning?
Oh,
Are
no,
you
no,
with
no,
me?
I'm just
No,
that's an
I know
understanding
you're
of,
not.
Yeah, no,
of
just
course
an
you're
understand-
not. You would
No,
never do that.
Just an understanding of why
Absolutely.
churches have spires on them. Because when I found
Yeah.
that out, it was like, because I didn't understand what that was all about. So it was kind of eye-opening to me.
Absolutely. It's beautiful. So, but it's all about evolution and flow, water, air. You understand how this works? And then so the third one, oh boy, is Shiva, the destroyer. Shiva has many arms. She can get into your situation, take things from you, give things to you, And our counter to that would be nature. Nature. Because nature is a force. It is a principle. Nature is impersonal. Say that with me. Nature is impersonal. Don't take storms personally. Right? And so the destroyer, or the omega, or transformer, that might be a better word. The end of a cycle And what brings that about is what? Fire. And the Bible says in the last days, the earth, it didn't say the earth, it says the world will be destroyed by fire. So what does that mean? Well, there are many cycles, and every cycle has to come to an end. Everything you see in this physical world will come to an end. It has to, because it's not permanent. It's temporary. Say it with me, temporary.
Temporary.
It's temporary.
Yeah.
And so when there are earthquakes, it's not personal. When there are hurricanes, it's not personal. When there are tornadoes, it's not personal. But see, the ego takes everything personal. God, why are you picking on me? Me! Leave me alone! And Shiva says, no, I'm just doing my business. Just doing what I do. It's a principle. We got to clean things up. The wind has to come through and take away the debris, right? And blow those leaves around and blow the seeds around. And all of this, it's a principle. There's a purpose. There's a meaning. It's valid. And what we have to do is work with it instead of against it. Make sense?
There are trees on the West Coast and in the Northwest, Pacific Northwest, that have seed pods that won't grow unless they're exposed to fire. They have to have the fire in order to break the seed open and have the new growth come forward.
You ever hear? Go ahead.
No, I was just going to say, you had any seed pods in your life that have caught fire and
There you go.
brought forth some new?
Say it with me. I'm on fire. Whew. Well, sometimes we are.
Yes, we are.
Sometimes we are.
And it's a part of the process.
There's a scripture in Isaiah that says, behold, I have created the blacksmith who blows the coals in the fire and who brings forth an instrument for his work. I have created the waster that destroys. It's a principle. It's not personal.
Right.
See, 99.9, maybe 100% of things really aren't personal. Because even your judgment of me may or may not be true. It's your opinion, right? My judgment of you is just my perception. It may or may not be true. And it may not be true for you, right? So we're talking about this impersonal force here, this principle that serves a purpose. Everything must come to an end. This journey is temporary, right? And when we look at it on a physical level, we think, oh man, I don't like this. You know, we see someone pass from our lives and we say, oh, they were taken too soon. You know, and that's how we feel on a literal physical level. But there's a higher understanding that I don't always understand, right? And that's what I have to align myself with if I want to be what? At peace. At peace. You got to make peace with the isness of life. Let's say it together. Isness is my business. Yeah. Now maybe you would have done it differently if you were God, right? Maybe you are trying to do it different. And you wouldn't have created any obstacles. You wouldn't have created this, you know, this the way it is. Well, I wonder if that would have worked. And I wonder if that would have necessarily been the best way. Is the finite smarter than the infinite? Makes you wonder, doesn't it?
Yeah. Because you know there is a theory that in the physical, when we're raising our children, if there aren't consequences to the obstacles that come in front of them, the choices that they have to make, do they ever learn anything? Do they ever grow? Do they ever mature?
Yeah.
And so isn't that very much like us then? Don't we require the lessons, the obstacles, the fire to our seed pods to grow and to learn. So if I think to myself, well, I would have done it differently and I wouldn't have put any obstacles in the way, yada, 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 maybe you would have defeated the whole purpose in doing that.
Yeah.
Because the obstacles are for the growth.
Anything with a beginning will have an end. Anything without a beginning will have no end. Your spirit had no beginning and it has no end. Isn't that beautiful? Let's take a breath of that. Nobody can end you, right? Nobody can destroy you. Nothing can destroy you. You are permanent as a spiritual being. Your body, not so much. That's just your temporary house that you happen to be living in right now. Should you take care? Absolutely. Should you do the best you could do? Should you fluff it and buff it and trim it and whatever you need to? Well, of course.
Tuck it and plump it.
That's okay, right?
Yeah,
There's
God
nothing
and
wrong
I are
with
going to
that.
have a talk about this stuff going on here. There's some, coming back to the idea, if I had done it, I would have done things. There are a few things I would have done differently. Definitely a few things I would have done differently.
And many people interpret this principle as evil, okay? Which is not a good way to look at life.
Yeah.
If you look at because see, Shiva sometimes shows up in people that you will meet. Say with me, oh, that's why that person's there. Mm-hmm. They're tearing something down. Mm-hmm. Ooh, aha, oh. Does a light come on there for anybody? Some people you meet are of the creative type. Yeah, and they're there to help you to create, help you to expand, to see new things, to explore a new world. Oh, wait a minute, that's a different show. Right? And then there are those who are the healers that come into your life, the way showers, the peacemakers that show up. Those are the ones that you want to journey with. And they come into your life at different times.
But
It's the Christ Spirit.
don't get rid of the Shivas too early.
Well,
Make sure that, that
fully experience it.
Yes, fully experience it. And
You don't have to love it, though.
no, of course not. But make peace with those
Death,
interactions.
divorce, disasters, the 3 Ds, and other natural changes. Create space for what? For something new and fresh and different.
Yeah.
If we choose to see it and act on it. And see, we're living at a time where a lot of things are changing. Shiva is making an appearance. Jesus is out there saying, listen, this has to come to an end because it's no longer serving us. Make sense? And so things are changing right now. Now, there are all kinds of people who will tell you they know how things should be. I don't know if they're right or not.
Right.
Don't give your power away to the know-it-alls. You know? Right?
We
Be
all know
careful.
how it should be based
Be
on our own.
aware of people.
Yes.
There's a lot of spiritual scams out there that are taking advantage of people. And all they want you to do is hop onto their agenda. And usually you can tell because they want you to hate somebody. They want you to dislike something. They want you to be against a lot of stuff. But they're not for very much. You understand what I'm saying? So I would rather be with people who are for something and they're working towards something. Because to me, that's what this journey is about. I want to be a peacemaker. I want to express my abilities while I'm here. Don't you?
Yes.
See, the journey in between is the dope. Say that with me. The journey in between is the dope. How many know what that means? I don't know what that means. I just heard it and I thought it sounded good. So, You want to learn.
It's where the feel good is at.
Yes, it is. It is. The dopamine.
Yeah.
The dopamine. That's what I was talking about. What were you thinking? Come on now. You want to learn how to see that everything is a path to God. Everything is a path to wholeness. Can you get that? Everything is a path to love. You have a coin in your pocket? Well, see, we live in the realm of the coin. We live in the world of opposites. You've got heads and you've got tails. So maybe you're experiencing the tail right now. Maybe you might say to yourself, well, I'm lonely. I'm experiencing a lot of loneliness in my life. Well, there's two sides to that coin. There's another side. If you ever want to move through something and see, you need to learn how to what? Flip it. This is a unity coin, by the way. Somebody gave me this one time. And it's got a picture of the dove on one side and then a nice little affirmation on the back. But anyway, it's the idea that on the opposite side of the coin, you got loneliness. And so what you do, you turn it over, and then there's companionship. There's love. See, the opposite of everything is love. Think about that. The opposite of everything negative is love. Whatever you're experiencing, you just need more love. I had an experience one time where I was going through some stuff. Because how many know sometimes you'd be married and still be alone within yourself. You can still feel lonely, still feel needy, still feel a certain way. And I'm sure Leah's felt that way too in her life, you know. And I was going through some things in my life that nobody else wouldn't understand. Right? It's just my stuff, right? And so I was meditating and I've learned, you know, that in my hands there's all kinds of healing energy there, you know, and I could feel that energy, that healing energy. So one night I was just kind of feeling that energy, and I slipped into a place to where all of a sudden I was just caught up in this beautiful light. And I began to affirm to myself the love of God, the love of God. There is unconditional love for me. And I began to feel it. You know, I began to experience it. And those feelings of loneliness just turned. And I began to feel that love surrounding me and filling me up. Because it's two sides of the same coin. You understand? It's two sides of the same coin. Loneliness becomes the pathway to love, to friendship, to companionship, if you allow it. So the opposite of every negative thing that you ever go through is love. So in my mind, one of the most sacred names of God is sacred love, the sacred heart. Because if you can get baptized in that, then everything else will clear up. Because love always knows what to do. Love knows what to say. Love knows who to vote for, right? Love knows how to heal the relationships. Love knows how to create prosperity, how to heal the divide, the division between us. Love knows, because love just, and here's the beautiful thing about divine love, it just is. It's beyond personality. It's just love. It's loving awareness. Are you with me this morning? Does this make sense? So, I invite you to experience all these names of God. And don't get mad at a person because they're experiencing something different than what you are. That's just where they're at right now. Right? Can you allow them just to be where they are? Because as you honor other people, then you're honoring yourself. Because you're just another version of me. You're just the other side of the coin of me. Does that make sense? All right. So get anything out of this morning? Is this all right? Okay. We're going to turn down the lights for a moment. Just take in a good breath. Cast your cares upon the one that cares for you. Cast your cares upon the one that cares for you. For God invite you now to go to your quiet place inside. See if you can feel the energy, the sacredness, the beauty, the loving kindness, the many natures of God. Are you open to a new experience this morning? The great mystery. The light. The Ancient of Days. The Alpha, the Omega, the beginning, the end. The truth. The truth. The divine principle. Infinite intelligence. The great mind. The architect. The lover. The friend. The peace, the peacemaker, the inner light, you're invited this morning just to experience a greater awareness of God. The power, the higher power, the raindrops, the wind, the earth, Mother, Sophia, Soteria, Grace, the love of God. So breathe it in this morning. Transformation. New beginnings. Enlightenment. A world of peace. If you know of someone right now that you would like to pray for, I invite you to whisper their name aloud at this time. And just hold them in this moment. Hold the space for them as we call forth their highest good. We call in divine order, peace of mind, healing energy, grace, compassion, warmth, healing, prosperity. We call forth all the names of God. and we give thanks. We bless our community. We are grateful for each and every person. We're grateful for this collection of people who've chosen to gather together to honor one another, to journey with each other, to walk with each other in peace and support and prayers for one another. We're grateful for that. We are grateful for our prosperity. And we give thanks. We hold each and every nation on this planet in peace this morning. We call for the peace. We call for the peace. The soothing of the anger, the healing of the minds and the hearts. Through the power of the Holy Spirit. And so whatever you need this morning, allow the divine to reveal that to you in your life. Let us hold just for another moment in the silence. And so from our hearts today, we give thanks for all the names of God. We give thanks now for our lives and our journey. In the name of the living Christ and all that is sacred, holy, and good, we say, Amen, so be it, and so it is. Invite you to reach and stretch this morning. Okay. Feeling all right this morning? You sure look good. How about if we have the announcements now? That would be great. Lisa, come on down. Are you our person? Thank you. We're gonna do that afterwards, I think, this time. Is that all right? Oh, you can have this one. We have plenty of mics.
All right. Good morning, Unity Community. My name is Lisa Munoz, and it's my joy to serve as your platform assistant today. We have a lot going on at our church, as you know. Tomorrow night, Monday at 7 p.m., we're offering a Unity Spiritual Education and Enrichment course. It's called Heart-Centered Metaphysics. It's going to be online, and we are holding this class in collaboration with another Unity church, Unity of Naples, Florida. Teacher Nancy Jacklow is presenting this course, and it's a deep dive into the big questions, a lot about what we were talking about today. So if you want to just surf on into some of the other questions that you might have about Unity teachings, this class would be a great offering for you. If you want to sign up, see me after class. It starts tomorrow, so there's still time to sign up. This Wednesday night at 6:30, it's fun and fellowship night with game night. So bring your favorite game and a snack to share. And Saturday morning at 11 is going to be a very special day. It's our pet blessing. So we're going to be recognizing all the wonderful creatures that we share this world with, and including our companions at home and maybe beloved ones that have already made their transition. So we will have someone taking pictures of you and your pet for a small fee if you'd like to do that. And we just ask that animals be on a leash or in a carrier. There's a lot more information on the website and specific information about getting your pet here safely and everything. So look there for any questions that you might have. And you can also just bring a photo if that's more comfortable for your pet. I know my dog would not want to be in a church with a lot of people. So, well, actually she would be, but you all might not want to be having her be around. So that's going to be a really fun and special day. So come for the pet blessing this Saturday at 11 here in the church. You can always go to the website to see everything that's happening online and here in the church during the week. And there's also flyers in the back to pick up if you want to have a printed list of activities. And one other thing that I do want to mention is hold a special spot in your heart this weekend coming up for our YOU teens. They are off on their rally trip to St. Simon's Island, Georgia. So think of them, hold them in your hearts. They're going to have an amazing experience, meeting new friends, learning more about themselves, and then hopefully we'll hear about them, all that they learned and experienced when they come back. So, all right, do we have anyone here for the first time today? We'd love to welcome you. We have any first-timers? Okay, not today, maybe online. If we have... Oh, hello. Thank you for waving. We appreciate it. We just want to appreciate you and tell you welcome. We're so glad that you're here. And we hope you got a connection card. If you didn't, there's some out in our lobby. We'd love to stay connected with you. Thank you for being here today. And if you're new online as well, please drop us an email so we can stay in touch with you also. We've got prayer chaplains here today. We have Sandy and Jean. You can tell they're wearing their prayer stoles. So they would love... Yeah, give them a hand. Great. They would love to pray with you today, and they will meet you right in this left hallway over here. I guess it's my left, your right, in the back here. We have a room set aside for some sacred time, so they'd be happy to pray with you. We don't want anyone to leave with a heavy heart, or if you have something joyful that you'd want to celebrate with and share in gratitude, we'd love to do that as well. And of course, we always have Silent Unity available to all of us, 24/7, phone, app, online, email. They are there for us all the time as well. And can we take a moment to thank all the volunteers that made today's service so wonderful? Thank you, volunteers. We appreciate your helping hands. And I know that Susan has an announcement, so she's going to come up and share some more exciting news.
Yay!
Thank you, Lisa.
Thank you, Lisa.
How many saw our post to the very start of our peace quilt? Yesterday was quite an achievement. We started out with just misting. Gosh, it looks like it might rain. Do we proceed? Do we not proceed? And we started digging our holes. We decided we're going to hurry up and just set intentions and make it. And we got halfway through our second hole and it started pouring rain. So if you were a part of the small group that showed up yesterday and helped us set those posts, will you stand a moment? In the pouring rain, they set these 16-foot posts and got us started. But the reason why I'm here is that next Saturday, along with the pet blessing, we're having a work day. We're going to finish up setting up the top post and assembling the grid for our quilt. And even though we're so excited about the quilt, we're really creating an experience this holiday season for Greenville to come and experience the quilt, experience the peace. And so we're going to decorate the entire church with lights. I've ordered several lights in colors that are similar to the quilt. And so we're just going to have a long work day. We're going to start at 11 and go as long as we can. Let's order some food. Let's have a real sense of community and build this tribute of peace out there to Greenville. All right, thanks.
Thank you. All right, and we're also grateful for the folks that went to Ronald McDonald last week and fixed a meal. Thank you. Let's give them a hand. Thank you, Terry, for organizing that. We really appreciate it. So we're going to receive an offering today, and we really appreciate your giving so much. Thank you for being a part of this community. And when you give, you're giving in support to one another. You know, we're supporting ourselves, we're supporting each other, and our mission and our vision and why we are here. So we just ask you to give and do the very best you can, and we appreciate it very, very much. So let's say together, divine love flowing through me blesses and multiplies all that I have, all that I give, all I receive, and all that I am. And now we've got a great song that I think you'll enjoy.
Who doesn't know what I'm talking about? Who's never left home, who's never struck out to find a dream and a life of their own? A place in the clouds, a foundation of stone. Many proceed and many will follow. A young girl's dream no longer hollow. It takes the shape of a place out west, but what it holds for her she hasn't yet guessed. She needs wide open spaces, room to make her big mistakes. She needs new faces. She knows the highest stakes. She traveled this road as a child, wide-eyed and grinning, she never tired. But now she won't be coming back with the rest. If these are life's lessons, she'll take this test. She needs wide open spaces, room to make her big mistakes. She needs new faces. She knows the highest stakes. She knows the highest stakes, yeah. Oh, yeah. As her folks drive away, her dad yells, "Check the oil." Mom stares out the window and says, "I'm leaving my girl." She said it didn't seem like that long ago, when she stood there and let her own folks know she needed wide open spaces, room to make her big mistakes. She needs new faces. She knows the highest stakes. She knows the highest stakes. Wide open spaces. She knows the highest stakes. Yeah. Wide open spaces. She knows the highest
All right, yeah. I bet you didn't hear that in any church in town. Very good. Very good. Good job, Melissa. And thank you, Jeff. Wow. We appreciate all our volunteers, and thank you guys for taking care of the sound back there and the video, and thank everybody for watching us today. We really appreciate it. Next Sunday, we're going to do something that you might wonder, well, what are we going to do? We're going to have a Unity-style communion service next Sunday. So don't miss it. Be here or, well, you'll be somewhere, right? But try to be here if you can. We'd love to have you. White juice. We respect all of our 12 steppers. So we'll be having juice. But anyway, come out for that. It'll be fun. And right now, we're getting ready. We're going to turn things over here in just a minute to Ed Storer, and he's going to be sharing with us some very valuable information on estate planning, and trust, and different things like that. So if you want to get some information, I know he'll maybe talk 20 minutes or so, and maybe at the end he might take a couple questions. Right there he is. Yeah. So we really appreciate you coming. And so he will be here with us in just a moment. So please stay for that and hear what he has to say. And we'll wait about 10 minutes, and then we'll get started. So go get you something to drink, get some coffee and some chips or something, and bring it back in here and sit down and let's learn something together that will help us, something very practical in our lives. So take care of yourself this week. We really appreciate you being here. Let's all stand together. And you know what we're going to do now, right? Let's say it. The light of God surrounds us. The love of God enfolds us. The power of God protects us. The presence of God watches over us. Wherever we are, God is, and all is well. Does that have new meaning for you now? All right, good. All right, tell somebody you're glad to see them. Thanks for being here today. We'll see you here in just a few minutes.
evening. Travelers Rest Yoga. It's the first time we've been there, but we do events at Greenville Yoga and at a few spots around town. I'd love to collaborate with you sometime.
Because I'm doing an event at Soul Yoga on the 20th.
Oh, cool.
On the Sunday, and it's kickoff ceremony, the crystal ceremony. And we're going to be doing the tuning forks. I also use the tuning forks, and then, while participants are laying down right now, have another person, so I'd love to collaborate, have another person play on their torso.
We do some of that. I don't do as much. I don't do personal sound healing, or at least not yet. I do on myself, my wife, and my friends, but I don't know. I feel led in a little different direction, which is kind of a little more performance oriented, but integrating binaural effects. A lot of people don't understand what I'm doing with the electronics, but I'm planting binaural rhythms that are calm and relax, and then I'm layering familiar sounds on top and then ornamenting with the natural acoustics. So.
See, I've heard of that, and I have a friend who's her boyfriend has a knowledge of vibrational sound.
Well, I mean, you have to be aware of this with the crystal singing bowls too, and tuning forks.
Yes.
So the healing is not really, this is my opinion, and it's not really in the beautiful sounding note. It's in the combination of notes that create that binaural effect. And so when you create that cradle that just soothes the body, it's a very slow binaural effect. And so that relaxes people. That's what most healers use, just that. But there's an exciting middle part that actually inspires and motivates us in the medium range. And they're finding those are a lot of the frequencies that NASA and a lot of scientists are using to regenerate cellular activity. Then there's the really uncomfortable ones, the ones that are slightly out of tune, usually in a higher tonal range. And those actually, there's a lot of ways to think about it, aggravate us. They actually make us want to do something, anything but that. Let's get away from it. So those are actually some of the most useful. And I use those in combinations of bowls, not the crystal bowls, because they're fundamentally they have a stronger tonic, and so you don't get as much of the. But I have a lot of sets of Tibetan bowls, and we were importing from Nepal for a while, so I got to hand select out hundreds, really thousands of bowls, and then I sold too many during the pandemic, and it just became really difficult to ship them in. We had a huge order. It was probably 250 bowls, 300 bowls that I bought them by weight, so I didn't really know. It got lost in customs. Now we covered it on insurance for the makers, but those were supposed to be my personal bowls, and somebody in customs got it. So, I don't know what happened, but we'll give you a card.
But the gong
The 27th, I do one supersonic Sunday a month where I really kind of dig in, and it's turned into a collaborative effort. We're still moving around. I haven't found I can't say the first Sunday. The next one's November 27th. So if you want to bring some of the bowls or bring just any instruments to join us, I have a flute player with flutes from all around the world, and she is pretty versatile. We may get together one more time before then to figure out some basic keys and things. And then right after that, I have a couple of friends, one from New York, one from the Atlanta area, that are amazing musicians that are kind of going from our Supersonic Sunday to their concert. So there'll be some overlap there. We'll clear some of our instruments and let them take over. So I think it's 27th.
I'll reach out to you and then see what might work and what would go with what you're already.
I noticed this was your first time here. This has always been my home church. I've worked with a bunch of mega churches and a lot of big establishments, Sound Healers Association, Sound Healing Academy, and all of these. There's more healers per square chair in here on any given Sunday than anywhere in the world. I mean,
I believe it.
I was looking around today and I was like, Reiki, yoga, meditation, and then you've got the artist community is just great. It's almost like each person that you talk to offers some kind of healing modality.
So beautiful.
So you're in the right place and welcome.
My main focus is natural plant medicine. I'm replacing pharmaceuticals with medicine that actually works with our body and helps us get
We have a lot to share.
Yeah, good.
So with our tour, long story short, we launched in January 2020 officially, and we made it to Arizona. And we were booked in California and en route, and they said, there's this thing called COVID, you guys may want to go home. So all of our gigs canceled, everything
In California.
everything came to us.
I'm originally from California, but we were in Bend, Oregon in the same whole West Coast.
It shut down first, and
Right.
so we kind of, just said, all right, let's, and then we did our management. But in the process, we've been studying about natural building, a lot of plant medicine, and I'm still a little bit on the fence, but we're making a transition into self-sustaining at home, and we have family property that we're planting, and we're trying to finish with a greenhouse now before that. So hopefully more will be in place for next year, but we're looking for more input, what
And it's
helps
definitely
each
where,
other to grow.
where it's sourced, where it's grown. Important to, be able to cultivate and access plant medicines that are grown in their natural region
Yes.
from around the world. Because, we could grow a lavender here.
And we're working with
Greenville.
Terra Nova, which is North Carolina, South Carolina border, and they're doing a lot of that.
Okay.
So they've really put a lot of research into their natural landscape and the healing medicines and so it's become kind of a light center. I'm still playing out. As well as the Light Center Nashville and some other communities that are doing it.
Knowing the native plants here and their properties and how they can help the systems.
Yeah, there's right before that 27th, I have a nonprofit called Our World Festival, and we were pre-pandemic supporting cultural artists and a lot of artists from around the world for like school programs and festivals and things. And we were transitioning a little more to the healing arts. And I knew the plant medicine person in that. So I have some people
When
that
is that?
dabble. It's on that same date, November 27th.
November 27th.
So
Okay, let me
I'm
put that
hoping
on my calendar.
we have the event starts at 3. Some of the musicians are getting here to go through things at 2. So tentatively, right now, I'm looking at like 1 or maybe 1:30, even to get like a little 30-minute meeting in.
Okay, so November 27th, and that's here. And so 1:30 to...
Somewhere like that. I'm hoping we end at 12, and we can close up at 12, give people time to grab some lunch, and come back, and then they're coming back in stages. I'm trying to get my board members here by 1, and then I have another kind of flow of healers and some specialists that are coming in. I'm trying to reestablish our committees. And that's what went away. Our board members are probably due for some change, but we lost quite a few committee members, from this plan. Yeah, so it's almost a new beginning for us, and I've been waiting for a while for the right time to start.
For a minute, I thought that was floating in the air. I came up on it. It was just right there. Are we live? Ready to go? Good afternoon, everybody. How you all doing today? Good, good. So my name's Ed Storer. I'm with the Wealth Training Academy. And this afternoon, we're going to be talking about wills, trusts, and power of attorneys. Now, for full disclosure, I am not an attorney. So therefore, I brought our attorney. I'd like to introduce you to Ken Shable. I'd like to introduce you to Ken Shable this afternoon. He is basically a guardian ad litem, as well as a family law attorney, but he also specializes in estate planning. And Ken and I have been working together now for almost 19 years, give or take, 18, 19 years. So, ladies and gentlemen, I'm going to turn it over to Ken. He's going to share about 15 minutes with you all, and then we're going to answer any questions anybody has. So, thank you for being here today.
Good afternoon. Thank you all very much for being here today and allowing me to come and speak to you about estate planning and an introduction to estate planning. I find it a little bit ironic that I'm here today on All Saints Day, where we celebrate those who have passed on in the last year to the much better place. So what a more fitting time to talk about estate planning, I guess. That's a little morbid, but okay. I am an attorney, licensed to practice law now for 24 years. I have been in estate planning for 16 of those and in divorce and family law for 24. So you might say I specialize in endings, divorce and death, the two ways marriages end. Enough of the jokes. Yeah, thank you. So, just show of hands, nobody's planning on dying in the next 2 weeks, right? Oh, we got one. Okay, great. So I want to just kind of give you a few minutes of an introduction to why an estate plan is so important. We've got, just show of hands of the people here. How many of you have some sort of an estate plan right now? Something. Okay. So those of you at home and those of you here that don't, let me give you the nightmare scenario, if you will. Husband and wife. Husband and wife have been married 35 years. They've got 4 kids. They've got 19 grandkids. They have no will. One spouse passes away. Who gets that spouse's estate if there is no will in South Carolina? Anybody want to take a guess? In South, nope. That's what a lot of people think. The other people typically say, oh, it's easy, it's the spouse, right? That's correct. Half of it goes to the spouse, half of it goes to the kid. And if one of those 4 kids happen to be 4 years old, then congratulations. 4-year-old now owns 1/8 of 1/2 of a piece of real estate. Nightmare. Well, what happens if one of those kids happens to predecease their parent? And that kid had 4 kids. Well, those 4 kids will then share 1/8 of 1/8 of 1/2. It is a nightmare. The state of South Carolina doesn't take your estate, but it can charge you a lot of money to try to get your estate handled. Because if there's no estate plan, if there's no will, you've got to put up a bond for all the property. You've got to notify all of these people as opposed to just going in and say, hey, I'm going to be the personal representative or executor or executrix, whatever you have in your will. Having an estate plan makes things so much easier. What does a will do? Well, a will is an instruction on how your estate is to be handled, how your assets and your debts are going to be managed on your death. Now, I need you over here, please. There's a process that it goes through, and it's a 9-month process at minimum. Have a seat. And basically what happens is your estate has to go from the person who passed away to the people you designate as your beneficiaries, your heirs. Okay? It's got to pass through 2 people. Not actually, but metaphorically speaking. The probate court. Congratulations, you've been promoted. The probate court is the organization in the state of South Carolina that ensures that the estates are managed the way they're supposed to. They filter in all the reports of creditors, people who want your money. You go through the probate court. The probate ensures that the creditors who filed proper claims on your estate get their money, and then whatever's left over ends up to your beneficiaries. Now, there are a lot of exemptions. I could spend 10 hours talking to you about estate planning. It's just that exciting to me. That's what I was called to do, I think. But I'm going to hit highlights. There are a lot of ways to avoid this process, because this process could potentially cost your heirs money. It could take time. It could take a whole lot of paperwork. And if you live in another state, you know, and dare I say it, it involves lawyers. We don't like lawyers. Lawyers are not good. So, a couple of ways you can avoid all of this. How many of you have a life insurance policy? You got a beneficiary? Spouse, kid, grandkid, church? Somebody? That skips this. Okay? Goes right to the beneficiary. You don't have to worry about it being attacked by creditors. Okay? It just goes, you know, I got a $250,000 life insurance policy. That goes straight to my husband on my death. All he's got to do is go to Mutual of Omaha or TD Ameritrade or whoever owns the policy and said, my wife died, here's her death certificate. And they're like, okay, here you go. Well, it's not that simple, but basically. 401ks, IRAs, retirement accounts. Beneficiaries, same concept. Skips this. Direct to the beneficiaries. Now, IRAs and 401ks have their own little funky rules. I won't bore you with them today, but bottom line is there are procedures in which they get their money, but ultimately it's a heck of a lot quicker than this. Okay? How many of you own a piece of real estate? Those of you that have your hands up, how many of you are married or have that property owned by somebody else in addition to you? Okay? Do you know how your house is titled? I'm not calling on you specifically, but I'm calling on you specifically, I guess. Both your names on it? Does it say anything else other than both your names? Take a look at it. Because in the state of South Carolina, and again, for those of you that may be watching in North Carolina, I am not licensed to practice law there. I cannot speak on behalf of North Carolina law. But if you own a piece of real estate in South Carolina with your husband or with your wife or with some other third party, take a look at the way the deed is written. Because there's Mr. and Mrs. Smith, and there's Mr. and Mrs. Smith as joint tenants with right of survivorship. That is the difference between owning half a house and your spouse owning the other half of the house, and you both collectively owning 100% of your house. Well, that sounds like a weird technicality with a lot of words. Well, that's because it's a weird technicality with a lot of words, but it makes a big difference. Example number one, if you own 50% of the house, what do you got to do to get the other half? You got to go through this process. My mother passed away 6 years ago, and unfortunately my dad didn't listen to me, and they didn't put the house in joint tenants with right of survivorship. So he had to go to probate and pay off a bunch of creditors just to get his house. By having the deed say joint tenants with right of survivorship and not as tenants in common, which is a lot of big fancy words, it skips probate on the first death. So you don't have to go to probate to keep your house. You just got to file a death certificate. Easy. In South Carolina, it's very simple. You find a lawyer, they do it for you, and you don't have to do a real estate closing. You don't have to go through any title checks. You don't have to pay deed stamps. You're basically paying a lawyer for maybe an hour of their time. And there's no tax consequences to the transaction. It's not a gift. It's not because it's a spousal transfer. It's exempt from all that. Joint tenants with right of survivorship. If all you see is your name and your spouse's name, it's problematic from an estate planning standpoint. Okay? Now, cars. How many of you have a car with both of your names on it? Check the way it's written. Does it say husband and wife? Or does it say husband or wife? There's a big difference because it's, again, the difference between owning half a car and owning an entire car. If you own half a car, what do you got to do to get the other half? Got to, if you want to avoid these people, or in cars is just the same as joint tenants with right of survivorship. Or. Okay? Now, bank accounts, checking accounts, savings accounts. Most financial institutions allow you to put what's called a payment on death or transfer on death. Same as a beneficiary. Same as a life insurance policy. All of these things are what I call self-executing instruments. What does that mean? On death, it executes automatically. It distributes to the beneficiaries, to the intended individuals automatically without dealing with these people. Okay? The more you have in self-executing instruments, the easier your estate can be handled. Now, that leaves you potentially with a car and a house. Let me be honest with you. Your furniture, your stuff, probate court ain't gonna care about it. Unless you owe a lot of people money. Then they're gonna make you sell it. So, how can we avoid that with all this other stuff? You're single or you're divorced or you're widowed and you have a house and a car and you want to try to skip this process. Well, there's a way to do that too. There's a concept in the law called a revocable living trust. Anybody heard of that concept? A trust is a self-executing document. The assets that the trust manages, the assets that the trust owns, distribute automatically. A lot of my clients love the revocable living trust, because that keeps the house out of probate. They don't want the house to go through probate. Some people who have houses in multiple counties, multiple states, I tell them, yep, you need one of these because otherwise you got to open 3 of these. This is what's fascinating about probate. You own a house in Spartanburg, you own a condo at the beach, and you own some land in Tennessee. Guess how many probate cases you got to open up? 3. You put all of those into a trust, you know how many probate cases you got to open up? 0. Because it's self-executing. It takes care of itself. I'm not here today to tell you you absolutely, positively have to have a trust. That's not my job today. I don't know your financial circumstances. I may never know your financial circumstances. I just want everyone to be aware there are choices, there are options. But having something is so much easier on your family than having nothing. Because when we are gone, we know where we're going to be, okay? We got it easy. I think it's important to make it as easy on everyone that's left behind as possible, because death is about who's left behind, not who's gone. At least that's the way I feel. Now, I want to take a sidestep. Stop talking about death. I want to talk about something a little short of death. What happens if you get to a position in your mind, in your body, where you can't take care of yourself anymore? You've reached the point where mentally you are not capable of handling your own affairs. That's where the concept of a power of attorney can come in. Allowing someone to come in, whether it be your wife, your husband, your son, your aunt, your next door neighbor, whomever you choose, whomever you select, they can come in and take care of you and make decisions for you when and if you can't. Okay? Dealing with your financial transactions, your property, your assets that may need to get sold to take care of where you're staying, or making decisions based on healthcare. A lot of people have living wills. Living wills are great. Healthcare powers of attorney do the exact same thing living wills do. What a living will does is it tells the doctors, okay, when it gets to this point, when it's basically life support or I'm gone. How do we handle that situation? Do we ask the doctors to make the decision and pull the plug? Do we ask the family to come in and make the decision? Or do we say, leave me plugged in, I just want to be in the hospital for the next 10 years in a vegetative state? You have that option. I've never had anybody select that option, but you have that option, okay? Again, why is it important to have these? Because if you don't, no one can make the decisions for you unless they hire a lawyer and go to court. And if nobody does that, guess where you're going to be in the hospital? plugged into the wall because they can't pull the plug because they got nobody to consent. You may be thinking in your spirit, I'm ready to go. But the doctors be like, I got no choice. Got nobody in charge. So these are documents, the basic three, the will, the healthcare power of attorney, and the financial power of attorney are the foundation of every basic estate plan. I could sit here for 10 hours and teach you about all sorts of concepts. A charitable remainder trust. Ooh, I want to donate to my church, but I want to accelerate the tax deduction. Let's do one of those charitable remainder trusts. Ooh, I just dropped a hint there. There's so many different concepts and ideas. You can do almost anything in estate planning. The one thing you cannot do is you cannot leave your estate to a pet. Now, you can leave your estate to someone for the benefit of your pet, but you can't leave it directly to a dog. That's about the only thing you can't do. From my perspective as an estate planning attorney, my job is threefold. Number one, figure out what your wishes are. Number two, create documents that best accommodate those wishes. And three, to remind you that every couple of years or so, you got to dust those documents off. Are they still what I want? Something major change? Nope, put it back in the folder. Yep, oh, let's go see that weird guy who told the jokes. It's not my job to sell you things you don't need. It's not my job to sell you things you don't want. It's my job to tell you what your options are. And trust me when I say, a lot of people come in and they say, well, I don't know what I want. I say, well, I can't help you there. I tell you what people in your situation do, but I can't tell you what your wishes are. So that's the first thing before you even go see an estate planning attorney or before you even dust off your estate planning document. What do I want? You know, do I want my kids to get all of my money the minute I die? Do I want it to spread out over 10 years? Do I want to give some now, some later? Trust me when I tell you, I think of myself as the chef, a personal chef to a certain extent. You come in and you say, all right, I want X, Y, and Z. I'm like, gotcha. Here you go. And sometimes you don't even know you want A, B, and C, but I'll throw that in there and say, hey, if you really want X, Y, and Z, here's the best way to get there. Last thing I will say is this, and I've said it a couple of times, I'm just going to reiterate it. Something is better than nothing. Even if it's the most complicated, convoluted document, it's easier than having nothing. Because if you got 9 kids out there fighting over an estate and there's no will, the first thing you're going to fight over is who's going to be in charge of it. And there is nothing that can turn people against each other more than greed and money. I can't count the number of times people have come up to me and say, oh, that won't happen. 6 months later, almost like clockwork. You have the ability to make it easier on your family, to give them the peace of mind and the peace of being able to move on just by creating something. I'll stop talking and I'll open the floor to anyone, including Mr. Storer here. Yes, HIPAA and financial regulations are requiring, if you have powers of attorney, to get them not necessarily redone, re-examined, I guess. Have a lawyer look at it and go, check, still good. Because banks will be like 10 years old. I don't know that this is valid. You could have just dusted this off and somebody might have had a different document. They want some more validity. They want some more proof that it's still your wishes, which is why I tell everyone, dust it off every 2 or 3 years. Email your lawyer and say, hey, still good? Yep. It is good, but again, the difference between just getting it checked off and refreshing it is refreshing it costs more money. And if you're on a budget and you don't want to spend $300, $400, $500, $600 to redo your entire documents.
But if the information's the same, you're just changing the date.
Correct, but you're also assuming that that attorney that you go to happens to have everything on file, that it's real easy. Yeah. So I 100% agree with you. The ideal situation is you just redo everything. But again, it's not my job to try to, if I did that and I told you, well, we just need to restart the documents. You technically don't, and I'd be committing malpractice if I told you you had to. Is it better? Absolutely. There's no question that way. Let me open it up. Any other questions, concerns? You can get as personal or unpersonal as you'd like to be. Yes, ma'am. Mm-hmm. Okay. Okay. That's a great question. The answer is, in all likelihood, as far as the piece of real estate is concerned, it does. But not necessarily the contents. Because when you sell a house, you're not selling the contents. You're not giving the people, unless it's in the contract that you're giving them the refrigerator or the, whatever, you're not selling the contents. You take the furniture with you. Right. Right. So he has it for as long as he's alive. Nobody can sell it from under him without his consent while he's still alive. For those of you at home, situation is a life estate with remainder, what's called a remainder interest or survivorship interest. That takes care of the piece of real estate. Regardless of if you ever find a will or if the will says something completely different, that document controls where the real estate goes. The will is there to control everything that isn't controlled by something else. Yes. Sure. So it's a mechanism. Imagine like it's like a company, a legal entity that manages stuff on behalf of you. And as a result of its creation, you have contracted with this organization a way that your assets to be disseminated upon your death, the assets that are managed by the trust. Okay? So it's kind of like a dummy corp, for lack of a better expression. By the way, if this sounds like it's a way to cheat the probate court, it's because it's a way to cheat the probate court. I'm not going to lie. It's the mechanism. It can operate like a life insurance policy. It can operate like a retirement account so that the assets that it manages are self-executing. For example, if you want your house to be in this trust, you simply transfer the house from you to the trustee of your trust, which could be you, but in a different capacity. It's there to avoid all this, so to speak. And it's also a good way, like, for example, I mentioned earlier, I don't want my kids to have a lot of money up front. I want to have a little bit here, a little bit there. It's a good way to manage that, too. I saw a hand go up in the back. I didn't see a hand go. Yes, sir.
What's the best way to go about finding a good estate attorney?
Great question. I'm not going to answer that. The best way, the two ways that I always look at is the same with any other business, same with any other company. Go online, ask your friends. Because if your friends have good things to say about somebody, they'll refer you to them. Or if you know somebody that knows somebody, that's always the best way to get it. Lawyers aren't allowed to go out there and brag about themselves. We're prohibited from doing it. It's actually unethical for us to stand up and tell you how great we are. Thank you. So my clientele, I'd say about 90% of it is, oh, so-and-so sent me to you. Or I saw you over at court the other day and I liked what you did. So best way I can always advise you is find somebody who did it. Who'd you go see? Did you like them? Did it work? Are they nice? Are they going to break my bank? Word of mouth is always the best way. I think I'm pretty good, though. But that's just another story. Yes, sir.
Now, if I or one of these lovely people here were to win the lottery, 1.6 or whatever it is,
I got it Monday.
oh, you got it?
I got it Monday.
Oh, okay.
Get it on Monday.
All right, if he wins,
Okay.
does he come to you? Are you the guy to set up the trust and do all that?
Short answer is, if I'm not the guy, I'll find you the guy. In fact, there is an attorney in Greenville. All he does is lottery investment law. That is his entire practice. No. All he needs is one. Yep. But that's specifically what I've called him on a couple of cases for some complicated trusts, and he's a wealth of knowledge. But yeah, the first two phone calls you want to make are to your priest and to your estate, to your lawyer and to your investor, because you want to get everything set up before that check's in hand. Great question. Hope you win. Yes, ma'am.
Well, I'm not from Greenville, Maryland, but
What part?
Annapolis in Washington, D.C. area.
My best friend lives in Durwood, Maryland, so I know it well.
But I'm from Maryland. Anybody else that has over $1 million, and that's very easy with your house, your car, your life insurance. Right. We trust them in a trust. People think you need a lot of money for a trust. No, you don't. No, you don't. And it really, for us, it's like asset protection. You have kids who spend a lot of money. You have one in this road. Because they spend the money, so you get it. So
Correct.
that's another good reason.
Well, and there's also that the older generation is starting to use trusts as a way to keep the house away from collections in the nursing home process. There's a 5-year look-back period for Medicare, Medicaid eligibility. Yeah, exactly. So if you have a house in a trust for 5 years, if you have to go into a nursing home, they can't go after that asset upon your death. It's prohibited. So there's a lot of benefits to the trust. In my mind, I have about 10 or 11 things when I'm talking to someone that if I hear, I check off. And the more checks I have, the more I think it's very necessary for a trust. Over $1 million, absolutely. Property in more than one county, absolutely. A blended family, that's another great reason why, because in a special needs child, yeah. All of these are great reasons to have conversations. Like with a blended family, I'm in a blended family. I'm remarried. We both my wife and I have our own kids. So we've got a trust that sets up so that it guarantees, just because you're the you're the predeceased spouse, it guarantees your kids are going to get a chunk of change. Because in wills, you can always change your wills. Always. You're under no obligation to keep your will.
Is there a law with step families and blended families in any, whatever they
If my wife dies today with a will that says I leave everything to my husband, I could do my will over and say I'm leaving everything just to my 2 kids. Forget her 2 kids. Or to my new wife. I use the pool boy example, but yes. There is nothing that prevents people from signing their estate over to whomever they want to at any moment in time. When you have a revocable living trust, it kind of divides what you as a couple owned into an A and a B. A, you can still do whatever the heck you want with, but B is pretty much, it's going to go to who the other spouse wanted it to go to.
So my question is,
Yes.
we have a complex situation with the step family. My father's wife
Mm-hmm.
and her children, they've taken over my father's estate, basically.
Okay.
Just curious if my brother and I have any legal rights if my father passes away, or does she have the right as the power of attorney?
She does not have the right as the power of attorney to redo a will.
She did already.
Okay. So there is a will.
Yes. Okay.
All right.
Just curious.
Yeah.
Legalities that.
That's a great question. There are only 2 groups of people who have the right to challenge a will and challenge who gets what in the will. If you are married and you are left out of the will, then you have a right to come in and get a portion of the estate, whether it's because they did the will before you got married or not. If you're not married, the only way you can challenge a will is if you can prove that the individual was not competent when they signed it. We are not a good state for that. I will say that. I wish it were better. I wish kids had more rights than they did, but unfortunately they don't. So make sure that he may or may not have changed beneficiaries on some of his accounts. That may still be kids, but I don't want to get into too personal, but yeah, sure.
In your case, check Florida law.
Okay. I can't say Michigan. I don't know. But if you were living in South Carolina, that'd be the situation. Yes, ma'am. It's self-executing just like a trust, in that you don't need to go through probate to deal with it. At some point, even with the right of survivorship, somebody's going to own it outright. And at that point, when, like, for example, if you have a life estate with your dad, and I'm just making this up, 3 other people with the remainder interest with right of survivorship. Eventually, 2 of those 3 people are going to pass away. And that third person is going to own 100% of that house. If they don't have a trust that deals with the house, it'll go through probate at that point. Correct. But again, you can only give what you own. And if you have a piece of property that's held as with right of survivorship and you die first, you own nothing. You can't pass it. Again, it's you only can give what you own. And what you own is a piece of property where you are with right of survivorship with 2 other individuals, and you die before those 2 individuals, then those 2 individuals own the property, and there's nothing your heirs can do about it, no matter how you set it up. Like, I can't go into my will and say, I'm leaving the Eiffel Tower to my son, because I don't own the Eiffel Tower. So, drastic, but similar circumstance. Correct.
Do you do free consultations?
Absolutely.
Actually, as a gift, as I was here last time, Tim may not know this, but I gifted an hour of his time to have a conversation about anybody's estate plan. Again, we've been working together for a long time. So I gave
No,
an hour.
I'll talk to anyone, anytime. I work with Ed. I have my own office in Spartanburg, and it's worth a conversation, especially for you.
I like the idea that you brought the veterans. A lot of people aren't aware of the veteran benefits that are missed out. Yeah, yeah, especially
Yep.
officers' benefits.
Yep.
Yeah.
Yes, ma'am. I think I got time for 2 or 3 more questions, so we'll go back here and they'll come to you. No. But she'll give you our contact number. It's the one thing I left. I have. I'm going to a play rehearsal as soon as I leave here, so I got everything for that, and I forgot my business cards. I am an actor. Thank you. Currently directing a Charlie Brown Christmas, December 8th, 9th, and 10th. Okay. No.
No plug. No plug.
Sorry. Where'd that come from? But they'll get you set up with not only his contact information, but also my personal contact information at work as well. Yes, ma'am. Sure. Right. Okay. Mm-hmm. You can put anybody at any age as the beneficiary. If they are not 18, it will be held in their benefit until they are 18. One of 2 things, and it depends on who you establish as who's in charge of your estate. If they want her to live there and it can be paid for, she can live there. If they want to sell it, they can sell it, and the money would be put in a bank account for her benefit until you reach the age of, unless you say otherwise, she reaches the age of 18. That means if she's got to go to the doctor, it can be paid for. College could be paid for. A car, whatever that, it's within the discretion of whoever you want to appoint as your person in charge, personal representative, as to how that money is to be distributed and when. And you can do it literally any way. 18, fine. 21, fine. Half at 21, rest at 25, fine. $100 a month once they turned 18, fine. any options you want. But until they reach the age of 18, they don't get it. Okay, they're not allowed to have it, so to speak. I got one more. Going once. Go for it. Go for it.
Just curious, what would you charge for just a very basic, first, let's say the very basic?
First of all, as I answer over here, the first consultation is absolutely free. If I have a husband and wife coming in with nothing, and I try and they want to look at doing wills, powers of attorney, healthcare powers of attorney, those 6 documents, I typically charge $1,000 combined, not each, total. You know, may need to redo your deed, may want to think about a trust. That's usually where we start. So 500 for 1,000 for 2, that's ballpark. Again, if it gets more complicated, it may go up there, but that's what my going rate typically is. You got it. I want to thank you all for this opportunity. If you will allow me to say goodbye the way my church says goodbye, I would really appreciate it. The peace of God, which surpasses all our understanding, keep your hearts and minds in the knowledge and love of God and of his Son, our Savior, Jesus Christ. And the blessing of God Almighty, the Father, the Son, and the Holy Spirit be among you and with you and remain with you always. Thank you.